Hey guys, it's Craig here. Welcome back to my vinyl channel. Thanks for clicking on the video. And today I have an answer to a question that I got a few weeks ago. And by the way, thank you so much, guys, for subscribing to the channel. I reached 1,000 subscribers a little while ago, and I'm very excited about that. Channel hasn't really actually been around for very long, and I've already gotten up to that point. So, cheers to you. Thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it. So the question I got was from a fellow a few weeks ago. He said, presumably, you know, if I take care of my records properly, storing them properly, cleaning them properly, and, you know, whatnot, how many times can I play them before they start to wear out? This is a really good question. And the reason why it's a good question is because there's really no definitive answer. But let me see if I can help demystify this a little bit and see if we can get down to a, you know, something that we can work with here. So first of all, excuse me, turntable setup is important, okay? If your turntable's not set up properly, then you're risking damaging your records. So when I say turntable setup, I mean leveling your turntable, and I mean really get yourself, whoops, mine just fell. Get yourself a little, well, anyways, I won't worry about it right now. A little level, you know, and put it on the turntable right there and make sure it's level this way, and then turn it around and make sure it's level that way. Don't level the deck of your turntable, the deck, you know, this part. You want the platter to be the level part. That's where the records are going to be played off of. So turn it around and make sure it's level on all, you know, on all sides as best you can, okay? Or at least two of the sides. All right? That's the first thing. Turntable setup. You want your tone arm to be set up properly. Now, I know that some people have turntables that don't have head shells like this. The cartridges mount straight onto the tone arm. Make sure you're using a magnetic style cartridge. And if you really don't know how to tell whether it's a magnetic cartridge or not, then check the specifications of your turntable, okay? I mean, that is a magnetic cartridge. It has the head shell. The cartridge is mounted in with 2 screws. It's got the wires going back. Some turntables, the cartridge just mounts straight onto the tone arm, which is fine. You know, some of them just do that with the 2 screws. And some turntables are called P-mount turntables, where the cartridge just, I think I've got one. This is one here, where it just physically just really just plugs right into the tone arm. And there's no wires or anything. It just plugs right in. All of those are still acceptable methods of mounting. Especially like when you're working with these P-mount cartridges, there really isn't any adjustments to be done. Hopefully the manufacturer of your turntable has taken enough care to set everything up ahead of time so that you can, you know, plug your cartridge in and it'll just work fine. And most cartridge manufacturers that manufacture P-mount style cartridges follow certain specifications so that cart will work on a P-mount turntable. We hope, okay? Now, usually that's the case. In my case, I have a turntable with, you know, detachable head shell, and that is, for me, that's good because I can switch cartridges, which I often do. The reason I do that is because, well, it's a hobby for me. I like to play around with different cartridges, and also, when I do my live broadcasts, I DJ on a live broadcast on Friday nights, and I don't use my expensive cartridge when I do that because I'm back queuing and you know, putting records on and off, and I don't want to be damaging my expensive one. This is a less expensive cartridge. It still sounds great, and it's a bit of a workhorse, and you know, I'm not as worried about if I damage it, and it won't damage my records when I back queue them either. So that's a good thing. Just a little side note there. If you want to, I'll just set it down there for now. When you're buying a turntable, if that's something you want to do, then make sure you get one that you can take it off and change it. Speaking of changing cartridges, you want to make sure that you set your stylus pressure properly. Running your cartridge too heavy will damage your records quite quickly. And running it too light will also damage your records quite quickly. And the reason for that is, I mean, the heavy thing is obvious, but running it too light, the reason why that can damage your records is because during loud passages on your vinyl, loud passages or sibilant passages, you know, where there's a lot of vibration going on. The grooves are, throwing your stylus around all over the place. If your stylus isn't heavy enough, it will actually jump out of the groove momentarily. And when it lines back in your groove again, it can damage the groove. Now, you won't hear this right away. You won't hear it jumping out of the groove. It happens very, very quickly. And you'll hear a sibilance. You'll hear like what's called splatter. And that can mean that your cartridge is running a bit too light. And when that happens, damage can be happening to your records because that splatter will become permanent in the grooves. All right, so not too light, not too heavy, but just right, okay? Like the Three Bears or whatever that is. So Goldilocks, yeah. I run my cartridges, usually there's a range between like 1 gram and 3 grams, or, every cartridge has their own range where the manufacturer recommends. And a lot of people, they'll just fool around and see what sounds best for them. I run it more towards the heavy side, but more towards the middle, okay, of the range that they give you. So very important. And speaking of that too, get yourself one of these. You will thank me over and over and over again. It's a Stylus, well, it's stylish, I guess, but it's a Stylus pressure gauge, and it's just a little scale, and you just put it on your turntable. You set your stylus down on that, and you can dial in your stylus pressure very, very accurately. Doing it with the counterweight and the little numbers on that is fine. It's not always the most accurate way. You're going to hit it in the ballpark, but if you really want to dial in your stylus pressure, then you need one of these. And I'll show you a little, just so you can see what it looks like. I got this one on Amazon. It was $20. And let's see if we can show the bottom so you can see what it says on there or whatever. Definitely worth your money. And again, when you're switching cartridges like I do, it's a great thing to have, but certainly for initial turntable setup, I think it's pretty important. Okay, stylus pressure, anti-skating. A lot of people don't even know what that is. If you have an anti-skating control, follow the directions that come with your turntable. Make sure that's set properly. It's not as crucial as stylus pressure, but may as well dial this thing in as best you can. Other things like leveling your tone arm, some people can't do that. Like I have mine where I can actually adjust the height of the back of the tone arm so that when it's playing the records, it's exactly level with the turntable platter. But if you can't do that, well, you can't do it. Okay. Some people will actually go ahead and put washers underneath in between the cartridge and the head shell to get it so that it'll ride lower and it'll level the tone arm. You can do that too. But again, that's not as important. If you really want to do that, then go ahead. But mainly stylus pressure, turntable setup, your turntable's level, and all that stuff is going on properly so that when the record is being tracked, the stylus is resting nicely in the center of the groove, and it's not favoring either side of the groove, and it's not pressing down or being too light and damaging the groove. Okay, so after you've got all these things set up the best you can, and don't be afraid to take some time to do this, because once you've done it properly, it can really make a big difference in how your records wear and also how they sound. Now, this kind of leaves us with the question, okay, fine. So once I've got that all dialed in, then how long is my record going to last? I have records that I've played dozens of times, and I don't hear any degradation yet that I can hear. Every time you play a record, it's being damaged. It's being, think of the tires on your car. How many times can you drive back and forth to work before you start noticing that you need new tires, right? So, it starts off, you don't notice anything at first, but then after a while, you may start noticing some sibilance or some distortion during when you're playing towards the end of the record, towards the inner grooves of the record. Oh, that's the thing I forgot to mention, which I was going to mention, I just forgot. Make sure this is lined up properly. The cartridge has to be properly adjusted in the head shell. It can't be turned this way or turned that way. And when you track your records, you want because the tone arm goes across in an arc, right? So it's not a straight line. like it is when the records are actually cut. There's a lathe that goes across and actually cuts straight, it stays in line with the grooves all the way across the whole record, or with the grooves it's creating. But when you play them back with these turntables, it is not a linear process like that. It actually goes across in an arc. Now they design the turntables so that that is minimized. Still goes across in an arc, but it also moves forward as it goes across. It's where they place the pivot of the tone arm, and that can greatly minimize the the tracking error that happens when it goes across. As a matter of fact, if you have a decent quality turntable, you can achieve almost no tracking error whatsoever. If you get yourself one of these little protractors, right, and you use this to line up your stylus, line up your cartridge. And I won't do it in this video. I'll just show you briefly. You put it on your turntable like that. This one a friend made for me. He laminated it and stuff, which is really cool. You download these from vinylengine.com, and they just want your email, and they don't bug you. They don't send you anything or anything like that. So you download it, you print it. Make sure you print it properly, the proper size. Excuse me. And this one, when you do print it, it comes out a full sheet, and then you can tell if it's the proper size or not, because they put like a line on there and they tell you how big the line's supposed to be and all that. I'll do a whole video on this if you want. And you use this to line up your cartridge. I'm not a fan of those little gauges that people put on the back of their cartridge, and it hangs down and it shows you where to put your needle, where to adjust it, because not all turntables are the same. And even if your turntable comes with one of those, I rather see for myself that it's properly aligned. When I got this turntable, it said in the instructions that everything was all set up and ready to go. But when I actually used the protractors, and I have more than one, so I know that they're accurate, it wasn't really lined up properly. I had to make adjustments. So it's worth checking, all right? Because somebody in, wherever this was made, Japan or Taiwan or wherever the things are made, just put that together, and you don't know if they actually really lined it up properly. It's close, but it might not be perfect. So get that set up and make sure you use it. And like I said, if you want me, I will do a whole video on how to do this. And, really important, that is. So now the quality of the vinyl, some records are made I buy some records and they already sound bad and they're brand new. And I buy other records they sound fantastic and they're 40 years old. So it really depends on the vinyl itself too. What I do is when I get a new record, what I might do is I might make a recording of that record onto my computer. You get a program. You can use, Audacity or, some video editing software you might have kicking around. Anything, as long as you're recording it at a high bit rate. Actually, I shouldn't say high bit rate, a high resolution, like 48 kilohertz sampling rate, 16-bit, 24-bit, all that stuff. There's another whole video. Again, if you want to learn how to archive your records properly to your computer so that they sound as good as when you first played them, hit me down below and I'll, in the comments, and I'll do a video on that. No problem. If you record your records onto your computer properly, they will sound exactly the same as the record. The recording will sound exactly the same. I know there's all these people out there who think that digital sounds different and worse and everything. I've been doing this a long time. If you do it properly, it can be just as good if you do it properly. If you don't do it properly, yes, you will hear differences. And certainly for this purpose, it would be enough for you to be able to tell, like in 6 months or a year or 2 years, whether your record is starting to wear out, because you could just play the record and compare it to the archive that you made of it. And you don't have to do the whole record. You could just do like one song or something like that. And you could compare them. And because, you might start to think, did it sound like that when I first bought it? Well, that's how you can tell, have a copy of it on your machine. Even if it's an MP3, it doesn't matter. You still be able to tell whether the record is starting to wear out or not. All right. Now, you can play these things if everything is good and all the things above that I just said are in place. You can play records dozens of times. Really. They're pretty durable. I mean, you're going to hear... before you start hearing wear on your records, you're going to start hearing clicks and pops. All right? Pulling them in and out of the sleeve, static, dust that's floating around in the air, dust that's on your turntable platter, whatever, something that's stuck to your stylus that gets put in the groove. You're going to start hearing crackles and pops before you start hearing wear and tear. Listen, records are made to be played. And I think really the bottom line is just play them. Play the damn things. Enjoy them. Don't worry about how they're going to wear out, They're meant to be played. They're not meant to be hung on the wall, although some people do that, and that's fine. They look nice. But really, they're meant to be played. So just enjoy. Enjoy. Cars are meant to be driven. Records are meant to be played. Simple as that. So if all those things are in place and you have that all good, then just enjoy your vinyl. The last thing that I might cover is this. See if you can find yourself a decent cassette deck. I've got a fairly decent vintage cassette deck up there. It's been maintained, and it sounds great. It sounds awesome. It has Dolby on it and everything else. Get a decent tape deck, and then tape your records. And that's what we used to do back in the day when we were listening to vinyl. When I was younger, we would buy a brand new record. We would put it on the turntable, give it a little clean. Of course, always clean your records before you play them. That's another thing. And then the first time we would play the record, we would actually record it onto cassette. A good quality cassette and a good quality tape deck, you'll get a pretty decent recording. And then you can always listen to that recording when you're around the house, doing housework, doing your thing, whatever, in the garage, and you can put the cassette on, and you're hearing your vinyl, but you're hearing it, and it's still analog too. So for those of you who are anti-digital, this is the way to go. You can listen to it as many times as you want, and when this thing wears out after 50, 100 plays, then you can always get a new tape and put the record back on and record it again. Personally, when I sit down to listen to vinyl, I want to listen to vinyl. I don't want a cassette. I don't want a digital thing. I want the record. I want my turntable. And so that's, for me, that's the most enjoyable thing. But, again, if you want vinyl sound, these are perfectly fine. And if you do this properly, you can make great recordings. So vinyl is meant to be played. And yes, it will wear out. If you're that worried about it, buy 2 copies. I have several copies of some of my records, just in case. So it's completely up to you. But, part of the vinyl experience is not knowing how it's going to sound the next time you play it. That's part of the excitement of it. So with all that, I want to thank you very much for watching, and I hope this video was informative. Thank you very much for subscribing to the channel. Spread the word if you can, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Cheers. Vinyl is final.